Hey, Emel, it's so good to have you on Artist to Artist. I am such a big fan, and this feels so special. Before we joined this podcast, you were talking about how you have a sold out show, so congratulations on that. Big deal,
Thank you.
of
Thank
course.
you.
And I just want to open up this conversation with a question for you, which is how are you right now?
Wow.
Mm.
It's such a simple and complicated question at the same time. Well, I have to be honest, even though there's a lot of great things happening for me music-wise, and after 3 years working on this album, etc., it's a very special time. But I can't say that I'm feeling great. Um, and I think it will be hypocrite. It's not so great right now. I guess we all are with what's happening in Gaza. And yeah, we're just like feeling small and useless. I think, yeah, this is a little bit of how I feel right now.
Thank you. It's always interesting for me to host this podcast and not ask how someone's doing. I know that we often join podcasts to share our thoughts about the topic, of art and different other podcast topics. But every day I'm witnessing something more horrific, and I just don't want to assume that the person across from me isn't impacted by it. So I just want to send a lot of love and care to you as you are using music as a way to communicate love and care and rage and hurt and all the things. So thank you for that. And I love artists because I feel like we are tapped into the human being, like the actual human being, in a way that maybe others are not. And I saw this. I think it may have been a TikTok of you. It was definitely a social media post of you singing to like a crowd of, I don't know, what was that, millions.
Yeah.
And I literally saying it out loud right now. I have the chills. Like I just was looking at. I watched that video several times. And I just thought, I wonder what it feels like to be able to use your work in a way that offers it to millions and also is a balm to millions. So talk about what that was like to be on that stage and have all those folks present for your music.
Um, well, first of all, it feels very stressful. And you think, I think that's just the way to start. And like you feel that your heart is just gonna, fall down to your feet. And I don't know, you feel like just somebody's holding you from your throat like this. And you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to do this. This is, because you're waiting on the side of the stage,
Hmm.
right? So you know what's happening already, but you're not exactly on stage yet. So, and you're like, no, I don't want to go. I want my mom. I want to go home. And then, it's time to go. It's time to go. And then you go, you walk to your mic. And I think what puts me the most at ease is when I start singing.
Mm.
And okay, I'm like, okay, my voice is here. I'm singing, and then I hear like a huge, like crowd movement like I've never heard
Mm.
before, and it just gets more exciting, it builds like, all the energy from being extremely frightening uh, switches immediately to like, we're gonna have a lot of fun and I'm gonna honor these people and I'm gonna make sure to share the best of me and we're just gonna be connecting, from my heart to their heart. And it doesn't always happen that way, but like I think that day was super special because of everything that's happening in the
Mm-hmm.
world, uh, in that moment, in the
Mm-hmm.
region. So I think it has like a much even stronger impact. We're not here to just share like one insignificant short moment in
Mm-hmm.
time. We're going to share much more than that. We're going to build something. We're going to build this bubble, and we're going to try to use it, like tomorrow and the day after and the day
Mm-hmm.
after. And I like talking about this, and the fact that you've been moved by it and we're exchanging about that now. Just that's the kind of stuff that makes me happy,
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that so much. And as you were talking, obviously, I'm also an artist. I've done tons of speeches and I've done tons of talks. That never makes me nervous, like being in front of people and talking, but it's always sharing my art. It's like the right before I do performance art and visual art. It's like that right before I like related to that so much. And as you were saying it, I was like, well, then why do we do it? And then you said, and then I started singing, and and then it made sense again, right? Like, it's such an interesting thing because it's the art itself, it's the practice itself that actually is the healing balm. Because otherwise, if we felt that way the whole time, I don't know if we do the art. I don't know if if it would make sense.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly what I say to like my friends. Like, why am I doing this? Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I was thinking walking to the stage. I was like, why did I put myself in this mess from the first place?
Yes,
You
yes.
know?
It's funny. I think performers maybe feel this way the most. I'm sure other performers feel differently, but that is the one like sentence that I've said to myself before performance every single time. Why did I decide to do this? What was I thinking? I just want to turn around, and then I get on stage and I perform, and then afterwards I'm like, that was the best feeling. That was the best experience.
Like, yeah, I was on tour like about a month ago, and every day it's the same struggle. Like, how do I, you know, get myself out of bed and get ready? Oh my God, like so much to do. And then after the performance, I'm like, I gotta do this every day. This is the best.
Correct.
Yeah, and like nothing in life can give me this much,
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah. It's special, actually. It's a special kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. It's the right word for it.
It's a
Crazy.
special kind of crazy. Well, I want to know more about like your art making and its development. When did you realize you were an artist? Like what was your first experience being like, "Oh, I'm this is what I want to be doing." Like do you have that memory?
I do. I think I don't know if I did the right thing all these years after all these years, but like definitely, uh, I think I was always certain I wanted to be an artist from as far as I remember. Like I think I was 8, and I just loved performing, creating, singing songs, dancing. I was somehow where I grew up, someone thought had the brilliant idea of building like a small
Mhm.
auditorium, like a stage and like, an outdoor theater. And that's where I was playing every day with my friends. And my idea of playing was to direct my friends and like
Mhm.
choreograph and like, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna do this and you're gonna say this and we're gonna sing this. I don't know if they liked it. I think I was too much. But yeah, that was my vision of life and playing. And I think one of the moms thought it was a good idea to tell my mom that her daughter was going to be an artist one day. So that didn't go well.
Mhm.
obviously. I don't remember her being really pleased with that, but I felt so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm being recognized. Someone knows. So it's real.
I love that so much. It's so interesting that you said that because my good friend Autumn Brion, who's also an artist, says that artists don't usually know we're artists until someone names us that, someone recognizes that in us. Especially if we come from people and cultures who are like, art is a hobby, not a career. So I love knowing that like someone noticed you and was like, oh, look at that's an artist. And then when was the first time you put it into practice? Like, so your mom gets told you're going to be an artist. She's not that happy about it, but like, how do you go from being the little girl directing your friends on that stage to being the woman who's commanding a stage and looking at millions of people? Like, what's that in between? Because I think as part of the work of artist to artist is to share like how an artist transforms and develops into their career. You know, we're talking to emerging artists, mid-level artists, and we're talking to career artists. So curious about that for you.
So I think the next step was a summer. I remember this very vividly. A summer, I was 15 and I was washing dishes and learning Celine Dion's first French record. And I was, you know, listening nonstop, like you remember the tapes, face A, face B, face A, face B, face A, face B, until I learned everything by heart. And that was like my first really crush. Like, I want to be a singer. I love this. I can do this. Of course, that was just in my head. And I think the next step after that
Mm.
is my friends, like the immediate friends, and then like word to mouth, the neighbors, and then the neighbors' friends. And last thing I know, I was on the beach with a big circle of people asking me to sing right now. And I think that was my first stage fright. I was like, I can never do this. No, I can't do this. And I started singing. And as soon as I started singing, the magic operates in a way where like people are like, oh, and me, I'm like, wow, I love this. And of course, as soon as it ends, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I have to get out of here. So that was the first moment I realized I really want to be a singer. And maybe also like I
Mm.
am a singer already. And then from that, of course, like no support, no nothing. I just sang in my room for hours and hours, um, sang very quietly in my room. And then as soon as everybody left the house, is this special thing like we had a two floors, so I would stand on the top of the stairs looking for reverb, and I would be like singing my heart
Hmm.
out.
Love that so
And then my
much.
mom would come home and she's like, so the neighbors told me like you were singing, huh? I was like, oh my God. Because of course, as soon as everybody left the house, I would like go like, so, and I think that's how I really taught myself how to sing. Like, it's funny, I like this joke when people ask me, so have you ever had voice lessons? Like, you have such a good technique. And I'm like, yeah, I learned how to sing with Celine Dion. And people, really? She taught you how to sing? Like, yeah, she did. She totally did. I totally learned everything from her.
I love that so
Yeah.
much. That's such a great story. Like I'm just picturing little you on the top of the staircase, like singing to the top of your lungs, thinking nobody's listening, but your
Oh
neighbors
my
are
God.
actually
And they
listening.
totally told on me. Hate them. you know and yeah, because of course it was those times where I was trying, like, um you're here, there's that note that needs to be like flawless and big and high and
Yes,
normal
yes,
and comfortable,
yes.
like, go figure it
Right.
out you know so that's what I was trying to do, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so embarrassed.
But look what it yielded, and what experience you're having in your life as that. It's so important. I feel like as children, we kind of know already, what our path is, and it's really up to the adults around us to help facilitate that and bring us into our fruition. I wonder, and then let me just finish that thought, and then when it doesn't happen, when the adults kind of can't do that for us, we more often children do it for ourselves, and sometimes we're successful and sometimes we aren't, and so it's really powerful to hear that, to hear that story, and I know that so many other artists probably have a similar story. I wonder for you, as we're living in this current moment, and it's not as if this current moment is so particularly special. There's been really painful things happening in the world throughout history for a long time. But I wonder for you, like, what in these moments as an artist, how do you make sense of them? Do you look to your art and other artists to make sense of these moments? Do you engage in the political process? Do you sort of like tap into your art practice as a way to like heal yourself and others? Very curious, like, as an artist, what's your worldview on how to make sense of painful moments in history?
So I think um, I'm in what in some way I'm lucky because my art, by definition, is political. Um, it took
Mm-hmm.
me some maturing to eventually recognize that, but the first step in me deciding to be an artist was determined by people, artists that I was listening to, and I remember also like this very vivid memory where I was sitting on my bed and I was listening to the vinyls of a couple artists, one from Egypt, Sheikh Imam, and of course John Baez was there, and also Marcel Khalifa, who's Lebanese. And I felt so empowered during those moments, also living under dictatorship and really realizing what
Mm-hmm.
it was to live under dictatorship, whether outside or inside, because there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's many of them, like as a Tunisian woman, etc., etc. But anyways, so when I heard, because these artists were very political, um, and I felt as like I was floating. I was not in that room anymore. I was somewhere floating and changing things and dreaming of a bright future, freedom, revolution. I just felt like all those instantly. And I thought, if I could do this throughout my music, if I can make a music that could make people feel even just this, I think it would be a great way for me to use my voice, my existence. And that's how I very early on decided what kind of music I wanted to do. I wanted it to be powerful in every way, and I wanted it to be useful to help people feel empowered because that's the first step. If you make people feel empowered, they will not let you oppress them. They will not let you break them. They will not allow you
That's right.
to um, it would just like automatically build very um, strong connections between the human beings because it's all about the connection. If we all cared very deeply, if every one of us cared really deeply about the other and about each other, we want, I mean, it sounds like really easy, but it could be that easy.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because one, you sort of heard other artists already practicing what would be your art, right? A possibility of of what art can mean. I think for me, I'm from the States and I'm from Los Angeles, and I grew up with in the police state. I didn't know it was a police state. I didn't realize it was a police state until I started going to other communities and neighborhoods and being like, that's strange. There's no police here. Why are the police circling my block? Like, why is our community being called out? And it wasn't until I heard artists, Black artists specifically, naming what we were experiencing and doing it in a way that was so out loud. And I was like, oh, I can say those things too. Like, oh, I could feel those things. And it really helped me track my own my beliefs, my own values. And I love hearing that that was like a very similar process for you, and then kind of took you into what your art was going to be. When you started to like, okay, I'm making art, I'm going to start sharing it. So, you did the beach performance, but when it started to really become your art, you said something about like it took a moment for you to mature, to like, took a moment of maturity to understand that being your art practice being political and what you're sharing. Like, do you have like a song or a moment where you're like, this one, it's going to be this one that does that, and I'm going to share it in this way, like, and then the reaction from it, like from people. I'm curious.
I think the first song I've ever written, and I had decided because I used to sing in a metal band, so those were really like my first steps as a performer. And metal and rock music felt also like a very obvious way to start,
Yes.
because I just wanted to
Yeah.
bang, right? I had so much anger. I had so much energy that I wanted to get out there. And once I've done that, and then I started, hearing the political in me in a much more direct way. I think I wanted to sing in Arabic because I had been singing in English, in an attempt also to break free from the chains, because to me, Arabic just represented everything that I wanted to fight, like dictatorship, patriarchy, etc. So the first song that I felt like gonna be, this is gonna define me. The song is gonna define me, and the song was in Arabic, and the song also was in Tunisian Arabic, which is a language. It's a dialect, but it's just a language, and it's not really like in the Arab world. The music scene is mostly with Lebanese and Egyptian dialect. So I just like throughout that song, I tried to break so many, you know, misconceptions. And the theme of the song, of course, was the story of someone that was struggling with their mental health, and that was deriving from the very toxic, oppressive environment that we were living in Tunisia. And
Yeah.
basically, the song is called Khaif, which means I'm afraid. But at the same time, like every word was like enough to put me in prison. So it's
Hmm.
like, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And basically, we're living in a prison, and outside is a prison, inside is a prison. And I want to break free. And I'm afraid that if we continue this, we're going down a hill, and I don't see an end to this. So
Yeah.
I was just like all of a sudden pointing out loud in our language everything that I think many people were. So it was kind of like a revolution, because also in itself, because like writing songs in Arabic, writing poetry in Arabic or Tunisian Arabic, is a very big deal for people. So it started like surprising, like what is this language? It's so raw, it's so rude, it's not very poetic, it doesn't rhyme. Why are you using these
Mm.
words? These words shouldn't be used in a song, and you're lying. This is not happening. And like journalists started attacking me, and I didn't think I was that much of a big deal for anybody, like a journalist, to take me seriously. So that's how I felt like, okay, it's having an impact. And of course, at the same time, it resonated with a lot of people. And like during my early small performances in Tunis, I think there was this theater, and at the end, the director came is like, you know that you're doing something that's not right, right? And I was like, yeah. I think he was not, he's a theater person. So of course he understands exactly what I'm talking about, but I think he wished I wouldn't be so direct. And I
Yeah.
think I probably put him in a little bit of trouble because I think he had some tolerance, like as long as he contained all the dissident voices, that they would just stay in that theater,
Yeah.
that was fine. But
Yeah.
still, like, there's still like to some extent. And that's when I also understood that I had to leave, because I was not going to be
Mm,
able, they were going to try to silence me over and over and over, and they were much more powerful. And I think the more they sense that you're going to touch people, that you're going to reach people with whatever small means you have, it was like a very sure way for you to get in trouble and to be silenced. And I didn't want to stop. So I thought, like, maybe I
yeah.
could fight from the outside now.
Yeah. It's really powerful. And I think a lot about different artists and across different countries and continents who challenged regimes, dictators, police states, authoritarianism, extremism through their art, were challenged themselves, the artists, and then made a choice to leave. Choice feels a little bit tricky because it's like whoever wants to leave their home, being pushed out, and then still making that work and still making that art. I think a lot about Hugh Masekela, South Africa, who was exiled and talks about what that exile feels like and what it means to kind of still, be of your people but not with your people. And I think about people like James Baldwin, who, wasn't exiled from America but was utterly exhausted by the toxicity of white supremacy and left and traveled and really settled differently, like with his own writing and confronting what he had internalized about himself because of this place. I wonder for you, like, it's such a, I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to that song. Is it on, like, can we find it on like a Spotify and all the places? Okay. Anywhere where you can find music, you could find this song that Amel's talking about, and I'm very excited to listen to it. It feels almost like the song can be played right now, talking about what's happening right now. Feels like an anthem song. I love feminist anthem songs. They're my favorite. And I'm wondering, as you're just sharing and talking about this, like, you leave, and then what? What is the impact on you leaving, like, for you personally? And does it impact your music and how you're thinking about fighting from the outside? Like, how does it reshape your music?
I think it gave me, um, I felt a lot of guilt, especially
Mm-hmm.
that once I crossed the border, that's when I got, uh, that's when I was able to get informations about what was really going on, the torture, the imprisonment, etc., etc. And there's a lot of information that wasn't circulating, especially like being young. So leaving gave me a lot of awareness of the reality of the situation, and not only in Tunisia, but like in so many other parts of the world. So all of a sudden, I felt like I have a big responsibility. I have an even bigger responsibility. I mean, this is what I was just telling myself. So, like, I have to use my voice. I have to use the opportunity that I'm outside, I'm free, I can create. So, I have to use all of this to speak for the people who couldn't speak, the people who couldn't tell their story. And that's the mindset that I put myself into as I was also started, like, to me it was important to have a political conversation and talk about revolution, talk about freedom. But at the same time, I was also trying to make a revolution in the music itself, because the culture in which we were, um, somehow it meant that, like, protest music didn't mean very awesome music, you know?
Hmm.
Like, it could be like super interesting and super creative and super innovative on my side of the world, but also just, um, on any side of the world. I was just mixing all these influences that I, um, had at home with whatever I was, um, ingurgitating around me in Paris. I was like mixing all these
Hmm. Hmm.
rhythms, putting all these cultures together, because also my political project was also to blur the lines of cultural differences. It doesn't matter that
Hmm.
I grew up here or that I speak this language. What really matters is how curious I am about the world, about other languages, about other cultures, and how, as an artist, I can put all of that together with a powerful message, because I didn't want to choose an audience. I don't think I've ever wanted to choose an audience. Like, when I'm asked these questions, like, "But who are you talking to? Who are you?" Everybody.
Hmm.
And that's how it
Hmm.
should be. As an artist, I don't think you should
Hmm.
be picking who you're going to talk to. You have to choose to talk to somebody's heart, to somebody's emotion, to somebody's, brain, and let them
Hmm.
choose, if they want to listen to you or not. But yeah, so it was just all these things at once boiling inside of me, how to, like, you know, denounce, talk about issues, but at the same time, like, shake the shake music in shake beats, and just, like, put all of these things together, because a revolutionary message cannot be revolutionary when you're not also a revolutionary. Revolutionary, the frame and the vessel you're choosing.
Yeah. I love that very much. And the reason why I love that very much is because there is something when you're doing work, especially in the art world across industries. This happens in the visual art world, it happens in the music industry, it happens in, like, film and television, where if you're doing something political, it's kind of seen as like not art or like, oh, okay, like, uh, it's like, okay, they're doing that like cute thing over there, like that's for the feminist, or that's for the people who want to talk about racial justice, but like it's not real art. It's not like industry level. And I think that I'm really attracted to artists who actually want to challenge that, and want to challenge not just not they don't want to just talk about what's happening in the world and like all the fucked up shit that's happening in the world, but we also want to challenge the industries that we're in, like the actual industry that we're in, and revolutionize that industry. And so I'm really like picking up what you're putting down. I feel very connected to that because it's something, I've been an artist before I was politicized. I was an artist. I remember at 8 years old in my grandmother's living room, doing shows for her and with my sister, and then I learned about what was happening around me as I became a teenager, and then I became, a political activist. But I was always an artist, and in fact, there's so many artists who help shape movements and revolutions. And this idea that we're kind of on the outside doing our hobby thing is like very undermining of what an artist actually is, where we are the world builders. We help shape whole societies and cultures, and we help reshape the industries that we're often inside of. So I'm just like very grateful for that. Um, so you have an album coming out, and we're very excited about it. I want to hear about how your shows have been that are going to lead up to this album that comes out April 19th. What has it been like? What are audiences saying to you? And then tell us more about this upcoming project.
So I started working on this album like 3 years ago. And I remember I was talking to my label of the time, and they tried to hook me up with yet another producer, male producer. And I didn't really agree. And all of a sudden I was like, but why does it always have to be a male producer? Like why it could be me. I've been producing for many years. Why do I always have to get validation from a male producer? And I have
Mm,
nothing against. I've been working. In fact, yeah. Also, I realized 99% of my 10-year album making have been just with guys, which I love, and I still collaborate with most of them. But I was like, there can't be something in this life where men are smarter or more intelligent or more capable than women. But I was actually fighting that idea. I was not. I was trying to convince myself, which is like crazy, because I'm a producer myself. But somehow it's like, is that true that actually guys are better at this than us? And I was like, no, I have to prove that wrong. I have to prove the world wrong. And it wasn't easy. And I started, I think I ate thousands of hours of playlists, and there's a lot of women DJ out there. And I was like, but I cannot do a techno album. I want to do an album. I want to mix styles. I want to, like produce and play instrument. And so yeah, eventually, like in paying extra attention, also a lot of people started telling me like, but you're not gonna work with a woman just to work with a woman. And I just hated that, because if I haven't been stubborn
mm,
enough to say I am gonna work with a woman, I would have never, like, I'm not exaggerating, I would have never found the brilliant women I ended up working with.
of course.
So,
Yes.
so I ended up putting together 24 different women, female rappers, um,
That's incredible.
producers, artists, engineers, songwriters, and a bunch of them are also all of that at once, by the way, so
Of course they are, because that's usually what women are.
exactly, and much more. Like seriously, I'm not trying to be cliche. It's true. And so I thought, like, I don't want just to do an album. I want this to be like the beginning of a movement. And maybe I'm always like
Mm,
too excited about things, and too and too crazy in my imagination. But I didn't want this to be just about me. I want this to be about them and about us as women, because I had to get myself out. And I'm talking like only 3 years ago. I had to get out myself and things from my brain that were like, we're rivals. I don't trust a woman when she's behind a board.
mm,
And all of these
mhm.
things were real in my head, consciously and unconsciously. So I want other women to reach out to other women, because what happens in the industry is that men reach out to other men. I mean, I'm not saying this in any negative
Yep.
way. It's just facts.
Hmm.
When you look at it, you look at the credits in the movies, in the albums, and then what do women do? They hire men. So
That's right.
if we want to break the cycle, if we want to change things, we have to hire women. We have to, like, me, I believe really, like, that if we have to have a political program, it should be by reversing, the trend. Like women have to be in charge. And by saying women have to be in charge, like
That's right.
full on women have to be in charge. We don't want, I don't want um, to be equal right now. I want to get back all those years that we weren't equal, that we were much less than equal, in order to, and
Yes.
this is like, see, I'm always going political. But anyways, big up to my girls, because also within the industry, and like, women are a minority, and women producers are a
Hmm.
minority. And in women producers, brown women are a minority. And then queer
Mm.
women are minority, and brown queer women.
Yeah.
So it was it was very exciting to discover all the women I worked with, to discover them artistically, of course, and to be blown away by their talent. But then it was also very important for me to support and give my platform, whatever platform I have, to give it to,
Hmm.
so that, because, like, if females don't have the priority in the circle of the music industry, then female rappers have even less, brown female rappers, you know so it was natural. It
Yes.
just it was natural. I wasn't like trying, like, okay, I have to have a queer woman, I have to have, it just happened. And they just also happened to be awesome, and I got really excited about what they did in their with their collaboration on my album. But I thought it was important, and they like to laugh with me and saying, like, this is the united colors of Emel. But I wouldn't have wanted to do it any differently, because it is about representation, as you know. And if we have to
Yeah,
represent females in the music industry, we have to represent also the other females that are even less represented. So
that's right.
yeah, this is this this is the work of this album. But of course, essentially, we had a lot of fun mixing hip hop and pop and trap and Arabic reggaeton and
Oh my God, I'm so
you know
excited.
Iraqi dialect with English and Ukrainian and Iranian. And I had like rappers from Mali, from Nigeria, from Ukraine, from you
Oh,
know
this is
I because
amazing.
also, like, as an Arab artist, Arab American artist, we don't see often, like, an artist from Tunisia collaborating with an artist from another African country.
Yeah,
And this is something also I want to talk about, because I think the colonization has made it that, okay, North Africa and the rest of Africa, which
that's
is
right.
which is
That's
something
right.
that we're really still struggling with, because it's kind of like we're not mixing, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we're all Africans. Like, I feel
Yes,
Arab, but I also feel African. I don't feel the same Arab as somebody from Lebanon, but I feel
that's right.
very much close to someone else. Like, we have cultural, languages that we share, and we have so much to show the world by being together, as also African women, in a way that the world is not expecting us to be, and the west by also but the Western world is not expecting us to be, like, just to break
That's
the
right.
cliches.
Wow, that is so exciting. Like just that whole last 6 minutes of you sharing the
6 minutes, wow.
process in which you it's fine. I like numbers, so I'm like, ooh, keep going. Um, yeah, hearing you share that process and how all the intention that went into it, and truly that's like how women are, like most women, but that's we're taught an intentionality, and to know that you brought that into making this album, and then like it sounds like it's going to be such a huge gift for us to listen to, especially right now where we're watching so many different people who are from the same region at war with each other, so many different people who are trying to understand their relationship to the world right now. I'm thinking a lot about, you know, I've been this morning I've been looking up everything that's happening in Sudan and the Congo, and we're watching what's happening in Gaza, which is important and necessary. And I'm also like, wow, it's been a year that Sudan has been in a war, and the biggest humanitarian crisis ever. And just knowing that your music is like brought all of these people, these women together from different parts of the world, several continents, to be in an art practice together. It these are the moments when I hear this where I'm like, okay, we're gonna be okay.
Oh,
Like if we're practicing in this way, like we're gonna be okay. These moments are so important and necessary, and I just appreciate what you're doing, and I'm really excited to I'm in Los Angeles, so many of us have cars, and it's like my getaway. I'm excited to bump your album in my car and just like have those moments of listening to like trap music originating from the southern parts of America, and then you naming the Iraqi music to Iranian music. I mean, I'm very like excited to listen to this. So thank you for this huge gift that you're offering to us, and the years of your practice that you've offered to us in the public. It means a lot, and I appreciate you so much, Emel.
oh, thank you. You're gonna get me all emotional now. But coming from you is, I'm a huge fan. Like it's so beautiful to have women like you, do so much and say so much. So thank you so much. And for me and my tribe and the girls who
Of
put
course.
so much work and so much emotion in this work. So I feel like, it's important to get this recognition from you.
Hmm. Of course, of course. Well, this was a really special artist to artist. I say it every time, but it just does feel that way. It feels like magic sitting with other artists, and I'm deeply grateful for you, and thank you for coming on our show, and excited to share your work with our audience and the audiences that will share it with more
Oh,
audiences.
thank you. Thank you for doing this and for giving me a platform.